Hafaday, I'm Sabrina Salas Matanani. My goddaughter was in middle school when she died by suicide. She was so young, a straight-A student, involved with various school activities, had a bright future ahead of her. Her death caught us all off guard. No one saw any signs. My family's story is no different than others on island who have had to bury a loved one to suicide, which is the 5th leading cause of death on our island. At the forefront of this battle to prevent suicide is the Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center's Prevention and Training Branch, which has produced a special documentary in hopes of spreading awareness about the problem of suicide in Guam and what we as a community can do to prevent it and instead focus on life.
My children lost a father, and I lost my husband and a friend to suicide.
About a year ago, my son Philip committed suicide.
I'm a survivor who lost my only son 2 years ago to suicide.
The rates of suicide on Guam has been for the past 10 years, one death every 2 weeks. It's quite alarming.
I can honestly say that every single family in our church and our school knows someone, whether it's in Chuk, here in Guam, here in the village, knows someone who has attempted it.
Miyor even teteni mongeri deive. Soporo siriaku siragara barawan.
We started the Focus on Life program about 4 years ago. It was our mission to help us better understand the reasons behind the deaths and the reasons behind the suicides. What we've come to believe and to know is that every person on this island could take some responsibility and prevent suicide.
In my support group for being there for me, and of course my family and everybody else.
I lost my only son to suicide 2 years ago. He was 24 years old. My son Corey was always laughing. Corey was always joking. Corey was always, and that's how a lot of his friends and of course his family saw him. If you saw Corey, he was laughing, he was smiling. It was something that I guess masked his hurt.
People who die by suicide or who make attempts are people in pain, are people who may feel lost for that moment. Unfortunately, they have taken a very, very drastic and serious end to solving their problem.
I actually attempted suicide in college. I was a sophomore in Denver, Colorado, Laredo Heights College. I was in a relationship, wasn't going well, far away from home. I decided one night, midnight, that I'll go to the roof of our dormitory and I'll jump out. And at that time, you don't think about the pain that it'll cost your family or your friends. You're just thinking, you want to end the pain. You're just thinking you can't possibly live another day.
When a person dies by suicide, they may not feel the pain anymore because they've moved on to the next life, but they've left a great wound among their family members, the people who survived their deaths, the people who are left behind.
There was a lot of questions, there was a lot of emotions that come into play when a parent like myself is stricken with that type of grief. You never get over the hurt, you never get, and the loss of your loved one, you never.
There's no clock that's ticking that says after a person dies by suicide in your life, you should recover in 2 weeks or 2 years. It takes a lot longer than that.
I try to get the strength by thinking of the good times. I did things a lot that I did with my son. Think about it, I can go fishing again with him, you know, but I can't.
How do you overcome such deep pain if you deny yourself feeling that pain, talking about the pain? The kinds of pain our people go through, the kinds of pain we are trying to heal from.
It's real. Pain is real. You know, we're big on island culture that we're about family, and it's so amazing how there are so many people in huge extended families that feel so alone.
We want to celebrate all that is strong about our community. And when we go into a negative area, talking about things that hurt, it is something that is very private. You know, how do you break through that?
For me, it was a struggle of months. I just kept putting it off. I didn't talk to my mother. I didn't let my family know. Growing up in a Micronesian family, you don't talk about those things. You do your part in the family. You get the good grades. You be the daughter who helps. You be the son who's a support, but you don't talk about depression. It's okay to have a headache. It's not good to be depressed. It means you're weak. And in the island culture, being weak is such a taboo. It was a year before I finally said, I'm not going to consider it.
About a couple of weeks after we laid my son to rest, I wanted to turn hurt into something positive. I called the peace org and I gave them my name. Apparently they called me back.
I was the initial person to speak with him when he did come, and we informed him that we did have a survivors of suicide support group.
I explained to them that I'm a survivor. I lost my son and I wanted to gain knowledge, and the question was turned around by one of the staffers that was interviewing me at the time. How are you doing? We're here for you, and I was kind of surprised.
Well, first, it was important for us to have him acknowledge his grief.
I tried to deal with my hurt by trying to make the pain, as negative as it is, try to make something positive out of this whole thing.
We need to make sure that he first understands that he is a grieving parent and have that grief motivate him to where he wanted to be, which was an advocate.
We started a support group and we've met, and it's been 2 years and we still meet. And I kind of find it like a place to let your hurt out, you know, and let your pain out. But eventually it changed because as time goes on, you become stronger. So that place of hurt became a place of hope.
Clyde has taken in everything that we've shared with him, and he is one of our biggest supporters and advocates under our suicide prevention campaign.
It is absolutely essential for us to reach out and to speak and to talk, get involved. Many students go through all of high school without ever actually hearing about, you know, the symptoms of suicide or what to look for or how to hear.
Our Focus on Life program is training trainers in a specific evidence-based prevention program called Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training. The people that we train through our Focus on Life program is about reaching out into the community. So we work with youth, we work with adults, we work with professionals and paraprofessionals. And so our program is helping them to really learn ways in which you could hear more than is being said and see more than is being shown.
My son, he was hurting when apparently he was contemplating all of this. We live a daily life where we tend to lose track of that.
Nowadays, you sit at a table and you want to talk about something and someone's got their face looking down at their iPhone or their iPad. That body language in itself would give a person some feelings of hesitancy, like, oh, they're busy, maybe I shouldn't talk about what's bothering me right now. If a person looks sad and may not be saying they're sad, it's how do you read those signs and expressions?
I didn't see those signals, but I recognize it now. I remember eating was hard. You lose your appetite. Didn't want to be around anybody, didn't want to talk. School, just getting up to go to classes was hard enough. I would sit in the cafeteria and just be there physically, but not there mentally.
Be able to ask a very, very tough question like, are you thinking about killing yourself? It seems really simple that anybody should be able to just ask that question outright when you're thinking that someone may be contemplating suicide, but it really is a very tough question to ask. The way to get through it is by reaching out and asking for help.
Talk to someone, reach out to someone, talk to us, talk to me, talk to your counselor, talk to your mother, and if you can't talk to your mother, talk to your auntie, your grandmother, talk to someone. That's a beginning step. And put it off for a day. We'll take it a day at a time.
When someone walks through our doors for prevention services, we treat them like we would treat a close family friend. We treat them in a way that we want to be treated. Someone to really listen to us, for someone to really help us through some really difficult times.
Survivors like myself who's lost a loved one, who's bearing pain like myself, they will bear that pain. There's no time to bear the pain. Every individual has their way of dealing with it. But my message to go out to the other survivors is to just let them know that they're not the only ones.
Through our Focus on Life program, we train trainers to do community outreach. We train volunteers to man crisis hotline phone calls. We do a lot of community-based trainings, helping people to know the signs and symptoms, helping them to know where to go and get help, and just really working with community people to know that they have the power, they have the ability to be a helper.
It's important to have more caregivers out there because caregivers are trained to be ready, to be willing and able to assist persons at risk for suicide. So we're trained to really listen and acknowledge why these people want to kill themselves, as opposed to trying to make them feel that what they're thinking is not right.
Well, being a caregiver, a lot of times, as we go through interventions, you always wonder if you've said the right thing. At the end of the day, knowing that you've met all the steps, you've met all the requirements, you've done everything you can, and gave all you can to that individual to help link them, then you always feel positive.
With the training that I received, I feel comfortable talking about suicide, and I'm ready and prepared to recognize and help those at risk.
You're lending yourself as almost like a rock for support.
It does not have to come from a department or a government agency or a private clinic. Every person can learn to prevent suicide in their lives.
Every single one of us are connected to people, and we can do something. We can be a listener. We can be a net, close the gaps. And we can't all reach. I can't reach your friends. I can't reach my son's rugby team, but he can, and he can avail himself as a listener.
Everyone around you, you got to be able to, be open and talking.
And we just have to listen to them and then try and figure out a solution. They just need ears. They just need someone to be attentive to them.
Don't be afraid to talk to the people you call your best friends, because if they really are your best friends and they care about you, then they won't turn you away.
And so if every one of us, looked up once in a while, made eye contact with the person across us, try to notice what is going on, ask questions, how are you? Spend time with others.
There are many of us that are carrying this pain. But there is a light at the end of that tunnel. There is hope. There is hope for us to change our lives and to become either advocates or to make lives better for their family and to become better people.
Take it a day at a time. If you're a survivor, there's a way to heal. You're going to heal. You're going to get through this. You're going to survive it, and you're going to be whole, and you're not going to forget.
You look around the island. Where can you find such beautiful surroundings, beautiful ocean, such loving people, such generous people? That's something worth living for.
And if you want to get involved, there are so many organizations, the Peace Council, Focus on Life, Safe Talk, Assist, get involved in those training, get involved in your community, your youth groups, your school, get involved in sports, get involved with the mayor, talk to the mayor, talk to your principal, be a part of an organization that reaches out to young people, get involved in your church. There's so many groups out there.
no matter what the circumstances are that's going on in their life, no matter how painful it is, no matter how lonely they feel, if every single person on this island says, I choose to live, there won't be any more suicides.
And the one that you lost, the one who let go, you're going to celebrate that one's life by surviving and living and then reaching out and touching another one. We are amazing people because we grow up in Typhoon Alley. And if we are able to survive storms, we can survive storms within. We were crafted for that.
You just watched a documentary produced by the Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center's Prevention and Training Branch. Stay tuned because up next we are going to continue our discussion on suicide prevention with Michelle Sasamoto. She is a suicide prevention coordinator and an assist master and consulting trainer. Hafide, and welcome back to our program on suicide prevention. With me now is a lifesaver, Michelle Sasamoto with the Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center. She played an active role in the production of this documentary that you just watched. First, Michelle, earlier, I talked about, and it was also in the documentary, about how suicide is the 5th leading cause of death in Guam. If you could, can you break down the numbers in terms of, are we talking about more younger people committing suicide or older people that are committing suicide?
Yes, our data is clearly showing that those who die by suicide are below 30 and below. So we're looking at an increase of youth and young adults that are actually dying by suicide.
Well, that's a pretty significant
Definitely
number.
significant.
Tell me about the main goal of this documentary and what is the target audience that you guys are trying to reach?
Well, the main goal is we can basically bring out information to the community, and we can talk about suicide. We could tell the community what we know. But to do this film, it kind of made it more personal. We know that, it's the 5th leading cause of death, but at the same time, our community partners, they wanted to hear the true stories behind it. They wanted survivors of suicide, those who've lost loved ones to suicide, they wanted to hear their stories because it's such a taboo topic to begin with. So if other people were to come out, they might be able to feel that encouragement now to tell their own stories and maybe seek help. So the purpose of that is really to show the community that everybody plays an active role in suicide prevention or intervention. That we don't have to be afraid to help anymore when this, has already been pretty evident that it's high in our island community. And Sabrina, we're not just talking about numbers, we're not just talking about one suicide every 2 weeks. I mean, we're talking about someone's loved one. We're talking about a mother, a father, a best friend, a boyfriend, a husband, a child. So again, it's just having those real stories being told. It's just encouragement that there's permission, that we could talk about this and our island can come together in hopes and opportunity to increasing the caregivers and lifesavers.
You mentioned it, a taboo topic. I've often heard suicide referred to as the silent epidemic. So how difficult was it for you to recruit people to be a part of the documentary and to actually speak out? How did you guys go about choosing?
I think part of the efforts is really networking. Is our department, we went above and beyond to really network with different community partners in different agencies, organizations, and then just, grassroots. And when we hear of these stories, we reach out to them and provide some kind of resource to them. Get them in, we listen to their stories, and they in turn feel like they want to be advocates. They want to reach out, they want to help. And from their story of tragedy, a new hope comes out in them, and they want to be able to touch lives and say, I've been affected by suicide. This is what it's done to me and my family, and I want to help. I want to help prevent it. So we looked at 3 different areas, again, based on the community feedback, community partner feedback. they wanted to hear true stories, like I mentioned. So we're able to tap into survivors. And, we may not have a lot of survivors that want to come out, that are ready, but it's about getting that 1, 2, 3 people that, they have that extra push or that courage to want to share that story. So we're doing it from a survivor's perspective. And when we say survivors, it's people who have lost loved ones to suicide. The second area is we wanted people that were offering the services. So like the prevention specialists, we also wanted some people like in the clinical areas to get the proper training. So one of it is the Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training. And it's kind of like suicide first aid. If a community member is talking with someone who maybe expresses that they've had thoughts of suicide, what do you do then?
Right.
So in hearing from somebody that has, some tools and skills, again, that encouragement, I can do this. If you could do it, I can do it. And then the last area is it's basically just community members that we've reached out to, those that want to reach out, different organizations. We've worked with people from like the military, the National Guard, various community organizations. And again, it's just because we're all normal people. We have, everyday lives, but we have, again, that opportunity to be a lifesaver. So in hearing perspectives from all the different caregivers and the stories that you saw on the documentary, some of them are survivors, but at the same time, now they're equipped to help other people.
Okay. Well, we're going to continue our discussion with Michelle after the break. Stay tuned. Hafide, and welcome back to our program on suicide prevention. With me now once again is lifesaver Michelle Sassamoto with the Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center. She played an active role, as I mentioned earlier, in producing the documentary that we just watched. Michelle, describe the services. I know earlier you mentioned there were 1,400 people that have received training. I'm sure the people out there that are watching may also want to join and learn from the program. Tell us about how the community can participate.
Okay, well, we have 3 different areas that we bring out, and one of them is the prevention portion of it. Again, it's just about providing awareness and education, and it's giving information, enough information for people to make educated decisions, right? And how we do that is we go out to schools or organizations or anybody who requests from the community. It's like in a presentation form. And one of the things that we've started doing was we've asked also caregivers who have been trained in the other trainings I'm going to talk about to come out and assist us in these presentations. Again, it's to get more people exposed to what we do, but at the same time, if somebody needs assistance when we're doing these prevention trainings, we have those trained individuals again on standby, and they can do an intervention if need be. So that's one area. Another area is the intervention part, and this is where more of the skill trainings come in. The training like Safe Talk. Safe Talk is a level below the assist training, and it again just teaches people how to keep a person safe, to talk about it, and to be able to refer that individual to a more advanced individual, like the assist caregiver. And then we have the assist training, and again, that stands for Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training, where anyone from, it could be a stay-at-home mom to a professional psychologist who takes this training. And the goal of this is to provide suicide first aid skills to individuals, because if somebody is in brink of thinking about suicide, it's kind of like applying pressure to the wound, just to sustain that individual for the moment until we're able to link them to proper resources that can give them the sustained care that's needed. Another one is intervention, the suicide toolkit training. It's just it's a 2-hour training where we can go out and train some of the primary caregivers. And part of our efforts is we want to make that a common question for people to ask in primary care. I mean, I know when I go to the doctor, they always ask me, do you smoke cigarettes? You know, do you take drugs? Why not ask, are you thinking about suicide? Did that ever come across? Because it's opening the doors to, again, get that individual the proper mental health services that's needed. Then we have postvention. Postvention services, it's kind of like the aftercare. So if a loved one or people who have been affected by a suicide death or a sudden death, they're able to get some skills, and mainly it's support, because we know that people who have lost loved ones to suicide, they could be at higher risk now for contemplating suicide. I mean, it's already one thing to lose a person by death, and then it's another thing, the impact is a little bit different when it's by suicide. So giving them additional resources and information, saying these are some of the expected reactions that you would go through, and giving them that awareness, it allows that individual to know that it's really okay to seek services, to seek help, to talk about it. And one of our other postvention services is the Survivors of Suicide Support Group. And that takes place every second and fourth Thursday of the month. And it's a 2-hour, it's just a talking session. So there's no therapy, you know, it's not run by clinicians or anything like that, but it's facilitated by staff members from our office. And people who have lost loved ones to suicide can just come and share experiences, share stories, and it just gives that the sense again that, you know, you're not alone, and they have valuable information that they could share between one another, and it helps them get through that process.
Do you have to be a certain age to be a part of or to participate in the training?
With the trainings, yes. Like with Safe Talk, you have to be 15, and of course we require parental consent, and then with Assist, it's 16. And with the Survivor Support Group, you know, it's really discretionary because the content that's being discussed, and usually if minors are going to come, we ask that parents accompany that individual.
Okay. Well, thank you, Michelle. Any final comments?
I just want to, you know, let the public know that although as frightening as it may be with talking about suicide, you know, it's just like anything else. If somebody were experiencing a heart attack, if they were undergoing cancer treatment or whatever, we talk about it because we care about the individual. And if we truly cared about someone, that it really is okay to reach out. If you don't have the answers, there's people that can help you, and we're available to call. And the crisis hotline, Sabrina, if I may share that. You know, we have a 24-hour crisis hotline, and it's 647-8833. If anybody needs to call, it's available. And then we have a national hotline. We have calls from Guam, actually, that reach that hotline, and it's the Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It's 1-800-273-TALK.
Okay, well, thank you, Michelle. Remember, everyone can do something and must do something to stop suicide. For more information about training that's available, please call 477-9079 through 83. You can also go to www.peaceguam.org. And that is our program. Thanks for watching, and remember always to focus on life.